She called 911 on a police fundraiser because someone was flipping burgers in a badge. You're not going to believe this HOA meltdown. HOA Karen. Called the cops on my pool party. Didn't know it was a police fundraiser. Part 1, the grill, the uniforms, and the rage. It started with a shriek. She's impersonating law enforcement. I want them all arrested, especially the one flipping burgers. That was Karen, screaming into her phone like she was ordering a SWAT team, while two very real, very confused officers tried to calm her down. Behind them, a yard filled with red, white, and blue balloons. A giant banner reading, Police Fundraiser BBQ, flapping in the breeze, and several off-duty officers laughing beside the grill like it was just another Saturday. Then, it happened. Someone shouted, "Karen called the cops! On the cops!" And the entire crowd exploded with laughter. Except Karen, she wasn't laughing, not even close. She stood at the edge of my lawn, eyes wild, jaw locked, righteous fury pouring out of her like a busted fire hydrant. What she didn't know, what she hadn't even bothered to check, was that the event she tried to shut down was city-approved, fully permitted, and hosted in partnership with the same police department she'd just called. That moment. Right there. I knew this day would go down as the most ridiculous, over-the-top HOA disaster my neighborhood had ever seen. And trust me, that's saying a lot. It all began just a few days earlier. After 20 years of firefighting, after seeing police officers show up with duct-taped gear and expired trauma kits, I decided I wanted to do something meaningful. So I called in a few favors. A sergeant I used to train with, a city council member I knew from high school, even the mayor's assistant. I pitched the idea. A poolside charity barbecue to raise money for better police gear, dash cams, trauma kits, the works. And you know what? They loved it. Within days, flyers were printed, permits secured, equipment borrowed, a DJ booked. My backyard transformed into a suburban celebration zone. It wasn't just a pool party, it was a community-backed fundraiser, one that I made very sure to do by the book. I followed the city's noise ordinance, scheduled the party to wrap up by sunset, gave the HOA board 2 weeks' notice, in writing. I even invited my neighbors, but if you've ever lived under the reign of a clipboard-wielding Karen, you know nothing on earth can stop her once she smells a rule being bent, even if it isn't. She lived 3 houses down, in a pristine home that looked like it was sponsored by a fertilizer company. Exactly 17 flower pots, color-coordinated by season. She wasn't on the HOA board, but she didn't need to be. Karen was the HOA. She carried a portable printer, just for violation slips. She once yelled at a 6-year-old for drawing a smiley face on the sidewalk, with chalk. No kids, no hobbies, just enforcement. The morning of the event, we spotted her 3 times, arms crossed, phone out, walking past slowly, snapping photos. When Officer Jenkins, who arrived with a box of donuts and a Bluetooth speaker, waved at her, she froze, didn't wave back, didn't blink. She turned and walked away, like her mind was buffering from the confusion. By noon, the event was in full swing. Kids were in the pool, burgers on the grill, officers chatting with neighbors, taking selfies with kids, even giving out sticker badges. It was wholesome, friendly, joyful, until the WASP arrived. Karen stormed up to the fence with a camera in one hand and a notepad in the other. "What is this?" she snapped, like she'd caught us sacrificing goats to the HOA gods. I told her, calmly, that it was a permitted police fundraiser, handed her the documents. She didn't care. She wanted noise levels tested, parking violations issued, and, Her words, not mine. The impersonators arrested. When I said most of these people were off-duty officers, she exploded. You expect me to believe real police officers would be playing Marco Polo in a pool? This is a disgrace. You're hosting a rogue militia group. I'm calling 911. She actually dialed right there on the sidewalk, pacing in furious circles like she was reporting a terrorist cell hiding in a bounce house. The kicker? When the dispatcher asked her to describe the emergency, she said, "There are people in police costumes grilling meat and laughing like they own the place." Even from 20 feet away, I could hear the silence on the other end of the line, but she didn't stop. She never does. 15 minutes later, sirens. 2 patrol cars pulled up to my house. Kids stopped splashing. Neighbors looked nervous. Even Jenkins paused mid-sausage flip. Karen? She was beaming, like she'd just summoned the HOA Avengers. She stood proudly as the officers stepped out, then yelled, "Arrest them all!" But the cops just blinked. "Wait a sec, that's Captain Morris," one officer said. "And that's Sergeant Lee, over by the hot dogs," the other added. Karen's face went from triumph to sheer panic, and that's when the chaos really began. Part 2. The Facebook fallout and the viral meltdown. The neighborhood was buzzing, not just from the barbecue smoke still hanging in the air, but from the chaos that had just unfolded. Karen's 911 call already being talked about in every group chat. Someone had filmed the entire scene, start to finish, and posted it with the caption, "Karen versus Cops, the Grill War." By sunset, it had over 400 views, just from people on our street. And Karen? She was nowhere to be seen. Her curtains were drawn, porch light off, probably recharging her HOA powers like some suburban supervillain. But the peace didn't last long. That night, just before bed, I got a notification. Karen had posted a video to the neighborhood Facebook group. It was something else. Slow zooms, dramatic music, her voice narrating like she was doing a documentary for the Crime Channel. In a once quiet community, chaos erupted as unauthorized individuals posed as officers, manipulating innocent neighbors with grilled meat and deception. She called it cop cosplay gone wrong. I nearly choked on my toothbrush. Clips were spliced together out of context. Kids in toy badges, someone slipping near the pool, even a close-up of Officer Jenkins holding a hot dog like it was a weapon. At first I thought, whatever, let it die. But then people started tagging me. Some were confused, others laughed, a few actually believed her. So I responded. The next morning, I uploaded a full, unedited GoPro recording from our mounted security cam. No drama, no militias, just burgers, badge stickers, and a fundraiser with smiles. I titled it, Full Footage, Police Fundraiser, BBQ, Facts Over Fiction. Within hours, her post was flooded with laughing emojis. Mine, shared by the mayor himself, with the caption, "Proud to support our local heroes. Great work, Marcus." That should have ended it. But Karen? Karen doesn't retreat. She reloads. The next morning, I opened my door and saw it. A printed notice taped to my glass. Masking tape, all caps. Urgent. Hostile event investigation. Neighborhood compliance violation. I stood there blinking, still holding my coffee. And then I looked up. Every single mailbox on the street had one, too. Karen had stayed up all night printing her own HOA newspaper of doom. Some had red marker circles. Others had bolded lines about unauthorized gatherings and misuse of city uniforms. It was delusional, and honestly, kind of impressive. I chuckled, then walked back inside. This was far from over. Part 3. The hearing and the unexpected guest. You'd think after being laughed off Facebook, Karen might let it go. But nope. She filed a formal complaint with the HOA, claimed I'd hosted a militarized, unauthorized gathering that endangered neighborhood morale. And somehow, it worked. The HOA scheduled a hearing, not a court case, just a community meeting in the local clubhouse. Plastic chairs, lukewarm coffee, and 5 poor souls on the HOA board who looked like they regretted every decision that led them here. Karen arrived early, wearing a blazer so stiff it looked like it was afraid of her. She had a stack of folders labeled things like evidence, witnesses, and grill abuse. I came in with a single folder and a smile, because I knew the truth would do the work for me. As the board called the meeting to order, Karen stood dramatically. She spoke like a villain giving a monologue in a courtroom drama. This event, this farce, was a disgrace to our neighborhood values. It endangered children. It misled innocent residents. It spread propaganda under the guise of hamburgers. She actually said that. The board blinked. One member coughed, possibly to hide a laugh. Then it was my turn. I handed each board member a copy of our city-issued event permit. A letter from the mayor's office thanking us for the fundraiser. Photos of the donation booth, the raffle table, and off-duty officers playing cornhole with toddlers. I even included a list of everyone who RSVP'd, and several kind comments from neighbors. But I saved the best for last. A letter from the police chief himself, stating the event was fully coordinated, lawful, and encouraged. Karen turned red, but before she could say anything else, the door opened, and in walked Chief Ramirez, in full uniform. Karen gasped so loud it echoed. He didn't say much, just stood tall and addressed the room. I came here today to confirm that this event was not only permitted, but supported by our department. No impersonation, no misconduct, and no danger to the public whatsoever. He paused, then added, "However, I do have concerns about false reports being made against our officers." Karen's eyes widened. He reached into a folder and calmly read off a list of her prior complaints. Unleashed canine aggression for barking at her lawn gnome, suspicious donut drop-offs, and psychological intimidation via uniform jogging. Each one formally investigated, each one dismissed. The board stared at her. Karen looked like she was about to faint. Then came the vote. Unanimous. All charges against me dropped. Karen? Banned from submitting further complaints without review. Also banned from claiming any HOA title or authority. The room clapped. Someone muttered, "Finally." Karen. She packed her files, muttered something about lawsuits, and stormed out. But I had a feeling. She wasn't done yet. Part 4, the sabotage and the citation. For 3 whole days, it was quiet. Too quiet. Karen didn't post, didn't patrol the neighborhood, didn't tape anything to my door. And in Karen language, silence isn't peace. It's plotting. Saturday morning came and I decided to host a small thank you gathering. Nothing fancy, just burgers, lemonade, and some neighbors who had stood by me through the HOA Hunger Games. The mayor's assistant was even stopping by, along with a few families from the police department. But as we were setting up, something was off. The DJ's equipment wouldn't power on. None of the outlets on that side of the house worked. At first, we thought it was a blown fuse, until I checked the outlet box. The plastic cover was cracked. The wiring bent like someone had jammed a screwdriver into it. I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't an accident. It was sabotage. We checked the security cameras, and sure enough, there she was, Karen, at midnight, wearing gloves, flashlight in one hand, something shiny in the other. She knelt by the outlet, tampered with it for 5 minutes. then vanished back into the shadows like a HOA ninja. I didn't even get mad. I just sighed and muttered, "She actually did it." My cousin Jacob, who's a practicing attorney, was already at the party. So was Officer Jenkins. I showed them the footage. They looked at each other and nodded. "This is criminal. Time to report it." So we did. Within 20 minutes, 2 patrol cars pulled up, this time for real. It wasn't dramatic. No sirens. Just business. But that didn't stop Karen. She came marching down the street in a floral robe and slippers like the party was finally getting shut down. "Finally!" she crowed. "Took you long enough." But the moment she saw me handing over the flash drive to the officers, her smile cracked. One officer said, "Yeah, this is clear tampering and trespassing. We'll file the report now." Karen froze, then tried to turn and walk away. "Ma'am, can we speak with you for a moment?" one of the officers asked politely. She stopped, glanced back, and whispered, "I have nothing to say without my lawyer," which was hilarious, because she doesn't have a lawyer. But the officers didn't press. They issued her a citation on the spot for trespassing and property damage. Karen tried to argue, claimed the system was rigged, muttered something about calling Homeland Security, but no one listened, because just as the citation was handed over, the mayor's assistant arrived, flanked by local officials, smiling, shaking hands, asking where to drop off a donation. Karen stood frozen across the street, steam practically rising off her robe, and then came the final blow. As part of the recognition ceremony, the assistant read aloud a city proclamation. "Due to the overwhelming success of this event, the city will be establishing a biannual community support day modeled after this very fundraiser." I didn't have to look at Karen, but I did. She was shaking her head, mouth open, defeated, and for the first time ever, she didn't scream. She just walked away. Part 5. The petition and the HOA circus. You'd think that after getting cited, publicly humiliated, and overshadowed by a city proclamation, Karen might finally call it quits. But no, Karen doesn't quit. She escalates. By Monday morning, a new post appeared in the neighborhood Facebook group. "Save our streets. Petition to investigate community impersonators." She had created an online petition, demanding an investigation into my event, a ban on all gatherings involving uniforms, and the immediate removal of deceptive HOA influences. It had 7 signatures. 3 of them didn't live in our neighborhood. One of them was listed as Karen's dog. But that didn't stop her. She printed copies of the petition, walked door to door, handed them out like she was running for office. Neighbors took them, mostly out of pity. Some laughed, some politely shut the door. One guy actually offered her a hot dog from our leftover cookout. She declined. By Tuesday, she'd organized what she called an emergency HOA assembly, held in her backyard. Never mind that she wasn't part of the HOA board. Never mind that she had no authority. She still dragged out folding chairs, stacked milk crates as a podium, and plugged a mic into a dying Bluetooth speaker. She even taped laminated signs to her fence that read, "Protect our property. Stop suburban militarization." And my personal favorite, "No more burgers, only truth." I didn't attend, but half the neighborhood did, out of morbid curiosity. And lucky for me, several people live-streamed the whole thing. Karen opened with a dramatic speech. "This neighborhood is under attack. We've been infiltrated by costumed manipulators who use children's trust and grilled meats to push their agendas." She said the words, "lawless barbecue," at least 4 times. Then came the slideshow. Blurry screenshots of kids in floaties, donut boxes, and a close-up of Officer Jenkins holding a lemonade like it was a Molotov. Then, she introduced her evidence packet. It was 18 pages of out-of-context Facebook screenshots, city bylaws printed from 2003, and my old high school yearbook photo. For some reason. But the kicker? One of the viewers of the live stream just so happened to be Councilman Ramirez. He'd donated to the fundraiser, and when he saw Karen's rants hitting his feed, he commented live, "Karen, please stop." The chat erupted, and just like that, her emergency meeting went from public crusade to meme-worthy meltdown. By sunset, someone had photoshopped her milk crate podium onto the Titanic. Caption: "The HOA went down with her." Part 6, the cease and desist and the final straw. That night, I found a new letter taped to my door. It wasn't from the city or the HOA board. It was from Karen. Sort of. She'd downloaded a generic cease and desist template online, filled it in with a glitter pen, and signed it Concerned HOA Citizen. She misspelled defamation and forgot to remove the watermark from the website. The best part? It ended with, "Failure to comply may result in federal scrutiny." I scanned it, chuckled, then posted it to the Facebook group with a caption, "Karen's law degree finally arrived." The comments were savage. By the next morning, my cousin Jacob, actual lawyer, not just plays one online, offered to write a real cease and desist in return. He did. It was clean, sharp, cited actual law, and warned her to stop harassing neighbors or face real legal action. We had it delivered with a witness. That changed the tone. The neighborhood had split into two camps by then, Team Marcus and Team Karen. Spoiler alert, Team Karen had maybe 3 people. One of them was her cat. Most folks just wanted peace. But Karen, she wanted vengeance. She was spiraling, and the spiral was heading straight for a faceplant. On Thursday, I got a formal-looking envelope under my door. This time, it was real. From the actual HOA legal committee. Karen had filed a formal motion to summon me for a neighborhood hearing. The twist? She filed so many complaints so often the HOA board got fed up and agreed to hold a session, not against me, but to investigate the entire situation. She tried to turn it into a trial, but I saw it for what it was, a golden opportunity to shut it all down. So I prepared, hard. I printed everything, witness statements, screenshots of her edited videos, even a transcript of the councilman's comment. But Jacob? He went nuclear. He compiled a 50-page binder, citing municipal codes, defamation laws, and HOA bylaws. He even labeled the appendix, Documented Karen Lies, Volume 1 inch. And with that, we were ready for the final battle. Part 7. The HOA trial and the unraveling of Karen Thursday evening. HOA Community Center. Plastic chairs, burnt coffee, linoleum floors with more scuff marks than a roller derby rink, and a crowd. Half the neighborhood showed up, not out of obligation, but out of curiosity. This was the showdown everyone had been waiting for. Karen sat at the front, arms folded, blazer pressed within an inch of its life. Beside her, a man she introduced as her legal advisor, who looked more like a guy who wandered in looking for free snacks. I had my cousin Jacob, his binder, and about 20 neighbors quietly nodding from the back row. The HOA board, 5 tired volunteers who clearly just wanted to get home before dark, called the session to order. Karen launched into her opening statement like she was auditioning for a courtroom drama. This fundraiser violated HOA Code 4B, endangered community children, and promoted rogue elements under the pretense of charity. It was a political stunt, not a neighborhood event. She tossed around big words. domestic destabilization, unauthorized militarism, civilian manipulation through grilled meats. It was impressive, in a fever dream kind of way. Then it was my turn. I didn't raise my voice, didn't throw shade. I handed out documents, event permit, city approval, signed letter from the mayor, photos, video stills, even screenshots of Karen's own messages contradicting her public posts. Then, I dropped the hammer. Proof that Karen had no role, zero, in the HOA. Never elected, never appointed, never voted in. Just a loud neighbor with a clipboard and too much toner. The board looked stunned. But then, the door creaked open, and in walked Chief Ramirez, again. He didn't speak loudly, didn't flash a badge. He just calmly stepped forward and said, "I came tonight to make something very clear. The event was legal, supported, attended by our department. No laws broken, no impersonation, just community." Then, he added, "We have received multiple false complaints from Ms. Karen here, including a report of a dog barking too aggressively and a donut drop-off being labeled threatening. These have all been documented." Karen tried to cut in, but he wasn't finished. "In fact," he continued, "Mrs. Karen currently has 3 open HOA violations of her own. An unpermitted gazebo, paint color not in compliance, and an unregistered event involving an ice cream truck that blocked a neighbor's driveway." The silence in the room, delicious. The board called for a short recess, and when they returned, they didn't hesitate. The motion against me, dismissed in full. Karen, barred from submitting further complaints without board approval, and banned from claiming any authority in public or private HOA matters. The moment they finished reading the verdict, someone in the back let out a soft, triumphant, "Yes." Karen stood slowly, gathered her papers, whispered, "This isn't over," and stormed out. But everyone knew. It was. Part 8, the peace and the pitiful plot twist. For the first time in months, it was quiet. No flyers taped to doors, no Facebook rants, no clipboard parades at dawn. Karen had vanished, like a defeated villain after the credits roll. And honestly, the neighborhood felt lighter. We smiled more, talked more, laughed without whispering. The next weekend, I hosted one last backyard gathering. Just neighbors, no fundraiser, no permits, just food, music, and closure. As the sun dipped below the rooftops and kids splashed in the pool, I stood by the grill sipping lemonade. Someone handed me a custom t-shirt. It read, "Karen called the cops on the cops and lost." I laughed harder than I had in weeks. And then I saw her, standing in her window, arms crossed, staring at the party like a cartoon villain watching their empire crumble. But this time, she didn't come out. She didn't yell, she just watched. Like a ghost of HOA drama passed. Because deep down, she knew. Her power was gone, her reign was over. Not because I fought her with noise, not because I stooped to her level, but because I stood firm, backed by facts, backed by neighbors, and most of all, backed by the truth. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's peace, and living so well, so freely, that even your worst enemy has no choice but to watch from the sidelines, while you throw the best damn pool party in town. Epilogue, lemonade and lessons. It's been a few weeks since the chaos faded, since the pool returned to what it was meant to be, fun, refreshing, and mine. Karen's windows stay closed now. Her porch? Strangely quiet. No more rule sheets, no more camera clicks. But the funny thing is, the neighborhood hasn't just recovered. It's flourished. People talk more. We wave, share baked goods. Kids ride bikes without worrying about sidewalk chalk citations. I planted new flowers around the pool deck. Even added a little sign that reads, grill, laugh, repeat. There's still the occasional drama, someone's lawn too long, someone's dog barking too early, but it's nothing we can't handle together. Karen's still around, somewhere in that two-story fortress of petty regulations. But these days, her power doesn't come from fear. It's just a story now, one that reminds us all that no matter how loud someone gets, truth always floats to the surface, especially when it's floating in a pool full of good people, good burgers, and even better lemonade.